The electric Genesis GV70 has had an update, but it's not just a light refresh. We're talking significant changes to its technology, safety suite, and even to a little bit of its design. And it begs the question, is this the smart buy if you're looking for a luxury medium electric SUV? Let's find out. The updated electric Genesis GV70 is offered in one well-equipped grade, the Signature Performance, and it sits in between its nearest electric rivals, the Porsche Macan 4 and the Audi Q6 Quattro e-tron. However, it is worth noting that a lot of the luxury features that this test vehicle has as standard are ones that you usually have to add for additional cost with other brands. The update sees new improvements to the technology in the way of wireless phone mirroring, a 27-inch OLED multimedia display, a new operating system, which includes over-the-air updates for firmware and software, a head-up display, a 16-speaker Bang & Olufsen sound system, as well as a UVC sanitizer for the middle console. But I'll cover all the new stuff for design and safety later on in the video. This grade enjoys full quilted Napa leather upholstery and leather trims, a suede headliner, panoramic sunroof, as well as electric front seats with heat, massage, and ventilation functions. The rear outboard seats are also heated, as well as the steering wheel. Basically, there's a lot of nice stuff in here, but if you're after the full specs list, check out my full written review at carsguide.com.au. Despite sitting just slightly smaller on paper than its nearest rivals, the GV70 fills out its medium SUV status quite comfortably, with its pronounced nose, wide stance, and pillowed swoopy rear end. The update sees an exclusive reverse G matrix pattern in the grille, new 20-inch alloys, and a rear aerodynamic spoiler. Do you take your shoes off when you get in to drive your car? If the answer is no, then the white colorway that you get in this test model is probably not for you, because while it looks absolutely gorgeous, I've been so anxious this week with all the mud and rain we've been having, and it's just not practical when you have kids, pets, or if you frequent unpaved roads like I do. I think the other colorways that you can choose from are probably the better choice. New for this model are the intelligent matrix LED headlights, smart key sensors in all the door handles, as well as new paintwork colors to choose from. And I quite like the hidden charging port cover that's located in the grille. But basically, the GV70 looks like an SUV that belongs on the luxury circuit. The front seats offer a lot of comfort with all of their extra functions. I found it easy to get into a good driving position in here because of them, and because the steering wheel is electrically adjustable. The 172mm ground clearance and wide door apertures also make it a very easy SUV to get in and out of, which established ladies and gentlemen will find very handy. This row is the most spacious, but does lack any meaningful storage. You get a smallish glove box and middle console, and that sort of shoulders most of the burden outside of some cup holders. But I do like that you get a sunglasses holder. The new multimedia and instrument cluster display looks gloriously sharp and really high tech. It's also a very intuitive system to use, and not one that you have to spend a lot of time with to figure out. The touchscreen is quite responsive, and the wireless functionality for the Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are most welcome. You get built-in sat-nav in this, and you can customize it so it fills the entire screen with a little widget available for your speedo. Each row gets 2 USB-C ports, but the front also enjoys a wireless charging pad and a 12-volt socket. The boot sees a 250-volt domestic plug port as well as a 12-volt socket. I like all of the practical elements in this car, like the extendable sun visors, the rear manual sun blinds, as well as smart key sensors on all the doors now, and that you can move the front passenger seat or open and close the boot without having to leave the driver's seat, which is really good. The seat comfort back here is really good, extra thick padding on the seats, and I really like those extra heat functions on the outboard seats. The seat's wide enough to accommodate 3 adults on a shorter journey, and families can make use of the 2 ISOFIX child seat mounts and 3 top tethers back here. The amenities back here are quite good, with directional air vents, climate control, as well as those charging ports, heat functions, and rear blinds that I mentioned earlier. The only real issue I have, and it's an issue with both rows is that the lack of storage. So other than 2 cup holders, some skinny storage bins and net map pockets, that's it for storage back here. The boot only has 503 litres of capacity available, which is the smallest of its rivals, but it's been plenty big enough for my grocery runs and the school stuff and my little family of 3 this week. Underneath the flat floor, you do have a very small pocket available to store home cables or the tyre repair kit, but you can make use of the 22-litre front storage if you need to. This comes with a powered tailgate, which I always find is a handy addition. The GV70 signature performance is fully electric with dual motors, one located on each axle, and together they produce 320 kilowatts of power and 605 newton meters of torque. Those numbers can be up to 360 kilowatts and 700 newton meters when you activate boost mode. And it can do a 0 to 100 kilometer sprint in 4.4 seconds when boost mode is activated, or 5 seconds when it's not. So basically it's pretty quick and more than holds its own against its nearest rivals. The electric GV70 has a new large 84 kilowatt hour lithium ion battery and a WLTP driving range of up to 462 kilometers. That is less than its rivals, but it's still a decent range for city slickers and regional drivers alike if you charge it often. Genesis throws in a couple of home charging cables, and this has vehicle to load capacity, which is really good if you want to charge a larger appliance while stopped. This has a Type 2 CCS charging port and accepts up to 11 kilowatts on an AC charger and up to 350 kilowatts on a DC charger, which means that you can go from 10 to 80% in as little as 19 minutes on a 350 kilowatt fast charger. Although it is more common to see a DC charger on the road that hits around 170 kilowatts or below. This has 4 levels of regenerative braking, including a 1-pedal mode. The top 2 modes do offer the strongest regen braking, and I did flip between these 2 modes all week. And this has achieved decent energy consumption for the type of driving I've been doing. But it is worth noting that some of its rivals are more efficient, but those consumption figures are on your screen now. My kid has nicknamed this the Marshmallow Limo this week, and it's probably the best description you can make for the ride comfort, because this is one of the smoothest rides I've been in a long time. And it's due to the softer suspension and new hydro bushings in the rear, which really smooth out the vibration. The downside to that is that you kind of feel like you're gliding on top of the road, and the dynamics in a corner are dampened a bit. From a driver's perspective, I do like a little bit more feedback than that, but my husband loves it. But what does he know? The dual motors deliver strong and prompt acceleration, and it's super fun when you have to put it into boost mode for whatever reason. It's also really cool how the ambient lighting and the dash pulse red when you do have it in that boost mode. I feel like from my driving position, I have really good visibility out of the wide windows, and none of the pillars got in the way from my driving position. I also really like that you get a digital rear view mirror in this, which just helps when you have a full car load full of passengers or gear. Like I mentioned earlier, you do have 4 regenerative braking levels in this. And I did keep it between level 3 and the 1-pedal mode because you get the strongest regen braking in those modes. Usually strong regen braking annoys me a little bit because you do have to change how you brake, otherwise your passengers can get a bit queasy. But in this, it's actually not been too bad. It's really easy to cycle through the 4 different regen braking modes because you do it via the steering wheel paddles. I kept it in modes 3 and the 1-pedal mode just because you get the strongest regen braking in those. It is worth noting though that for any EV you do have to change your braking style, otherwise your passengers get queasy. But in this, I actually found it very easy to adapt my style. This is very easy to park. It's got a clear 360-degree view camera system, a little bit overwhelming to go through all the different camera angles, but you get used to it. It also has a tight 11.5 meter turning circle, lots of parking sensors, and I love that you can park this remotely via your key fob. Really good if you're in a tight car space or garage. The GV70 has a maximum 5-star ANCAP safety rating from testing done in 2021 and features 8 airbags and a host of standard safety equipment, including my favorite, a blind spot view monitor, which pops a video feed of your blind spot onto your instrument cluster. The update sees some new features like side parking sensors and parking collision avoidance assist for the front, side and rear, which means the car will avoid obstacles during low-speed maneuvers. The adaptive cruise control is now navigation-based, which means that the car will adapt to low-speed zones and curves in the road. But the full safety specs are in my detailed written review at carsguide.com.au if you need more info. The GV70 is covered by a 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty, and the battery is covered by an 8-year or up to 160,000 kilometre warranty, which are comparable to its nearest rivals. However, Genesis also throws in a whole bunch of goodies for free, like free scheduled servicing for 5 years or 75,000 kilometres, 5 years roadside assistance through Assist Australia, but if you service through Genesis, that also gets bumped to 10 years cover, which is great. You also get a 5-year complimentary subscription to Genesis Connected Services, and you can choose between a 5-year subscription to ChargeFox or an at-home wall charger. All of that is incredibly impressive. And what's best is that you can service your Genesis for its scheduled servicing through the hundreds of Hyundai dealerships around Australia, which is really good for regional drivers like myself. The updated Genesis GV70 signature performance is packed with features, effortless on the road, and backed by fantastic ownership value. This isn't just polished luxury, this is smart luxury, and that makes this one to seriously consider. If it was me, I'd just choose a different interior color if you have kids or pets. If you're after more details, check out the full written review at carsguide.com.au, and I'll see you on the next one.